Ooh, good morning, everybody. Welcome to Impact and Coffee. I'm going to do this really quick, share my screen and do this. There we go. I hope this is the right slideshow. I'm like, is this the right slideshow? It is. Okay. Good morning, everybody. I'm Robert Nelson. I'm with Pivotal, New Mexico, and I'm happy Tuesday in the middle of March. I'm joined by my wonderful co-host, Michael Green. Hey, Michael, good morning. How are you today?
Good morning, everyone. Thank you, Robert. Yeah, I'm co-host Michael Green. I'm with the New Mexico Farmers Marketing Association, and I'm glad that y'all are here today to learn more about public allies.
Yes, absolutely. Impact and Coffee is an open, welcoming conversation to exchange stories and ideas, foster innovation, strengthen the nonprofit sector, and build community. It's just a really great way for folks to connect. We're really happy that we've been going for about 5 years, and just also really grateful for our wonderful team of folks. So Michael and Danny and Juan, and our new member, Abby Wells. Good morning, Abby. Thanks for joining us today, and welcome to the Impact and Coffee team. Michael, it is Gratitude Tuesday. Is there anything you're grateful for today?
Yes, I am grateful for the opportunity to be working remotely. It's been nice to I did a little bit of traveling around New Mexico last week, and so I was still able to do my regular job but have a change of scenery. And so it's been, it was nice, refreshing to kind of see new places and do things a little bit different. So that's kind of what I've been grateful for the past week or so. How about you, Robert? What are you grateful for this wonderful Tuesday?
You know, I'm grateful for a sunny day on a Tuesday. Yesterday was a little cloudy, so I'm really grateful for some vitamin D. I'll hopefully get outside a little bit later today, so that would be really helpful, just to kind of pick up my mood a little bit. Just a little note: Impact and Coffee is run by a group of volunteers from, well, not necessarily from the Grand Plan anymore, but Pivotal, New Mexico, Sync, La Red del Rio Bajo, and Michael, I forgot to put this slide, but New Mexico Farmers Market Association. If you're on social, please check out the hashtag Impact and Coffee and connect over Instagram and Twitter or even Facebook. I know there was a Facebook post, so check in there. Or post any thoughts you might have on our Facebook page. That'd be really helpful. Michael, can you talk a little bit about the Next Gen In grant really quickly?
Sure. Yeah, the Next Gen In is a great kind of program that we have to build youth-driven projects in the nonprofit sector. So basically, if you are or there is a youth, so 25 years or younger, working for you who has an idea to build capacity within your organization, this is a great opportunity for them to receive $1,000 to help make that happen within your organization. So it's really cool because we have many different people apply for this, and then as soon as they finish their project, they come back to Impact and Coffee and share their experience and what they were able to do with the grant that they received for us. And this is made possible with the support from P&M. So definitely thanks to P&M for helping us provide this to youth in our community. If you have questions about Next Gen In, you can see our email address down on there. So please reach out and let us know about your project and how you or a youth in your organization would use the money.
Thanks, Michael. I appreciate it. And then, you know, when folks get awarded, they'll get a chance to speak on behalf of their project and present here at Impact and Coffee. So we've had so many great awardees over the last couple of years or so. So want to hear from more folks and hopefully get some folks to apply soon. So let your friends know. I'm not sure what the slide is. So we are probably looking for one more person. So if you're interested in joining the Impact and Coffee team, please email us at info@impactandcoffee.org, and we will set up a conversation. So with that, I will kick it over to our panelists today to introduce themselves. We'll stop sharing. And I'm going to ask folks to make sure that you're muted and that your non-panelists are muted and that your videos are turned off. But to kick us off, we'll start with some introductions, about 2 to 3 minutes. Tell us a little bit about yourself, your organization, and we'll start with you, Vanessa, if we could.
Absolutely. So my name is Vanessa Apodaca. I'm sorry if you hear Blender in the background. This is part of working at home. I am one of the staff members at the UNM Community Engagement Center. And the UNM CEC has several projects under sync. And so this is how we find ourselves in this space. So we're happy to be here. A little bit about myself. I'm born and raised in New Mexico, in one of the historic neighborhoods called Martinez Town. I'm a daughter of a Mexican immigrant and a Chicana from Vanessaa. I've had the privilege of serving and learning with my neighbors through programs that the Community Engagement Center hosts as a youth, and now I have the honor and privilege of being a staff member of this this center. And we have lots to share with you about the CEC and about public allies, some details about what a public ally does. So before we get into the weeds of that, would love to hear from Briana or Tabitha, your introductions.
Go for it, Briana.
Okay. Yeah, good morning, everyone. My name is Briana Villegas. I'm a public ally, like Vanessa mentioned. My sites are Santa Fe Indian School and UNM Health Sciences Office for Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion. And I'm excited to be here today to share with you all just a little bit about my experience working in these sites. And I am a second-term public ally, so it's just been an honor to serve as an ally for this long. And so can't wait to share a little more later.
And good morning, Tabitha. Thanks for joining us today.
Good morning, everyone. Yes, as Vanessa said, I work with the Community Engagement Center as a part-time staff member, and I was previously, or I'm a public ally alumni. My roles include at the CEC, I'm actually the state team leader for the Food Corps program, and then also assisting the Public Allies program as well there at the CEC. So yeah, as Briana said, just excited to talk about what we do and the people that we get to work with on a daily basis.
Awesome. Thank you, and welcome all of our panelists today. We really appreciate you. Vanessa, why don't we start with you to talk a little bit more about public allies, and we'll give you the floor for about 10 minutes, and we'll open up for Q&A a little bit.
Awesome. Thanks. So if it's okay, I'm going to share screen, just something in the background while I'm talking. Can you see this screen that has like a map on it? Perfect. Before we go to that map, wanted to share a little bit about the UNM CEC, who is the host of the Public Allies program here locally. So CEC has been around for, since 1998. And it's been a project that's been in collaboration with community, with some of those historic neighborhoods like the one that I grew up in. And its aim has been youth leadership development and community capacity building. For some 20 years, at least 1,000 youth have come through the CEC programs. What that means is that they are placed with a community partner site to do an apprenticeship, a long-term apprenticeship. They get paid. We're able to leverage federal and state funding so that their apprenticeship is paid. And it is usually aligned with their program of study. So for someone like me, for example, when I was in my undergrad, studying community health education for my bachelor's degree, I was able to work at an after-school program in Martinez Town, the neighborhood that I grew up in. I was able to get scholarship money for this. I was able to learn from my neighbors who were youth, and we were able to do some good things in community that promoted health and just a sense of belonging and well-being. And so that's a little bit about the UNM CEC. It's been around for a while. The programs that CEC, has hosted. The most historic one is called Service Corps, UNM Service Corps. That's the one that I mentioned that I was in. And these are UNM students, CNM students looking to be engaged with community as a part of their career track, as a part of their academic pursuits. Public Allies is another one. We'll talk more about that one. And Food Corps is another one. I would love Tabitha, as one of the staff members of Food Corps here locally, to share all about that too. So those are our apprenticeship programs. If you know of any organizations that are interested in hosting Public Allies or Food Corps members or Service Corps members, please contact us. Just a little plug there. So what the heck is Public Allies? It is a national program. So many of you may be familiar with AmeriCorps programs. Public Allies is an AmeriCorps program. AmeriCorps is just a branch of the federal government that offers funding to community for volunteerism. So any one of our organizations, if you're a nonprofit or government entity, can apply for AmeriCorps funding, and you can host an AmeriCorps member or vistas or programs. So just know that's an opportunity for you there. We get the privilege of partnering with Public Allies National Office, which means that we have connections and network all across the nation with these states where other Public Allies are serving. So there's a total of about 600 Public Allies. The mission is really to build the capacity of the organizations that they're placed with. And the organizations that they're placed with are strategically selected because they're promoting social justice, because they're doing innovative, transformative things in community. So that's Public Allies across the nation. Again, if you know of anybody that does good work in any of these states and they would want to host a Public Ally, that's an opportunity for them too. Here in New Mexico, we get to host 25 Public Allies a year. And so the program has been here for about 10 years in New Mexico. Look at that. And the UNMCEC has been hosting for about 5 years now. Sorry, my internet's a little slow. Come on. Okay, go on. So just directing you to this website in case you know of anybody that wants to be a Public Ally. If you have any youth that you're connected to that could benefit from a program like this and are passionate about being engaged in community, please send them to our website, become an ally, and similarly become a partner. If you or any organizations that you know of would be interested in hosting Public Allies. I could get into the weeds of what that means, like the costs and all of that, but would love maybe first to hear from Briana about her experience as someone going through the program, and how it's connecting to your future goals. You know, that this is a space for your leadership development, and we're happy to be a part of it. And you know what's next for you too.
Thank you, Vanessa. Yes. So as Vanessa mentioned, Public Allies is a great program. I have been a part of it for 2 years now, and I want to share a little more about like my personal background so you all get a better sense of how impactful this program has been for me. I'm a recent UNM graduate. Well, I say recent, but it's been like almost 2 years now. I graduated from UNM, and going into UNM, I wanted to study something in the science field, given that I want to pursue a career in medicine. So I went in, I studied biology and Spanish, and got my degree. But a little bit before that, going into UNM, I realized that I didn't know really how to navigate higher education. And this was due to the fact that I am a first-generation college student and a first-generation American. So going into college, I already was having so many questions about the process and, how does this work? How do I move forward once I graduate from UNM? How do I apply to medical school? And in my time at UNM, I was able to participate in a lot of programs that were health related and really impacted, and paved my way, kept my way in that straight path of like, okay, this is what I want to do. I want to go into medicine, reinforced, those desires that I had. So I realized from very early on that health programs that were offered, or any extracurricular programs that were offered to me, were just so beneficial and, played a huge role into helping me identify what it was that I wanted to do with my life. So going into Public Allies, I have had the honor to serve as a public ally for the Santa Fe Indian School through UNM Health Sciences Office for Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion. And what UNM Health Sciences Office for Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion do is they offer a lot of health programs to the Santa Fe Indian School students, as well as any student in Albuquerque, right? But I get to promote the programs that they offer to middle school students, high school students, leading up to college students. So I get to help expose all these students to health careers, to see if that's something that they want to do and pursue. And so this position is really near and dear to my heart because, what I shared in my background of having the honor to experience, being a part of different programs that allowed me to open my eyes and be like, okay, I want to be a doctor, and here's why. I got exposed. I was able to shadow. I was able to learn from people in the field and not just theoretically hear, oh, this is what a doctor does, but it's like I got to see it hands-on. So that is part of the reason why I feel like Public Allies can make a huge impact. In my case, it's been helping students be exposed to health careers, but, there's a whole, and just so many different opportunities for allies to make impacts in their communities. And growing up, I always said, it's great to be a part of my community, but I never really felt like I was contributing to my community. I said I was a part of that community, but I never really felt like I was giving back. So Public Allies has given me that opportunity to give back in such a meaningful way to me, in such a special way that ties directly to my career aspirations. And so having served for 2 years, this is my second term, I've had the opportunity to connect with a lot of students at the Santa Fe Indian School and answer a lot of the questions that they have, because a lot of them are going to be first generation college students, or just don't really know how to navigate the higher education system and come from very similar backgrounds to mine. So it's been such a special process to just kind of sit with them, build relationships with them, and kind of help them understand that it is doable. It's just because sometimes it seems like it's not an option because you don't really know about it. That nobody has taken the time to lay things out and be like, this is how it works, and then you would have to do this and then this. And so having that opportunity to be a part of these students' lives and kind of help them understand that there's even more careers than just being a doctor in healthcare, right? So even that has been kind of a shocker for a lot of them, because a lot of the time you just hear about doctors, nurses, pharmacists, but you don't hear about physical therapists, occupational therapists, like physical assistant, medical assistants, a lot of different careers that aren't really exposed, because you hear of like the more known ones. So even that has been a lot for our students to learn and to be like, wow, I can be an occupational therapist. Now I know what it entails. Now I know how long I would have to study in order to get there. So it's just like connecting all these pieces for them has been a great experience for me, given that I'm able to give back to my community in that way of, people helped me get there. People helped me understand the ropes and what I had to do. And now I'm able to give back in that way. And that's all because of Public Allies. So it's just, I'm tremendously overwhelmed when I get to speak about this experience, because like I said, it's so near and dear to my heart, and it's really allowing me to reach out to the youth and help them understand that these things are possible and to not give up, because any career in the healthcare field, just like any other field, comes with its challenges, comes with its hardships while you're working towards obtaining that career. So it's really important to let them know that I've been through hardships and that I'm still on that path, and that they can very well pursue it, and they might face hardships, they might not, we're all so different, but that at the end of the day, if it's something that you want, you have to stick with it, and everything will work out. Even if your story looks a little different from others, your road looks a little longer, a little more complicated, that's fine. You will get there. It's just been it's been great. I've learned a lot of skills as well in this process, because I'm helping with program development for 3 different programs, for 3 different health programs at UNM. So I'm helping with Dream Makers, which is a program that is offered to middle schoolers, and then HCOP, which is Health Careers Opportunities Program, which is offered to high school students, and then I'm helping with the Ambassadors Program, which is offered to college students at the Santa Fe Community College. So it's, I'm not only getting to help high school students, but it's also middle school, college, and so it's been a great learning experience for me, and seeing what all it takes to develop a program, to sustain a program, to make a program cover all those things that you want it to cover, right? So it's like that impact, that just everything that goes into a program. So it's been a lot of learning. It's been a lot of fun, and I just think that Public Allies has truly allowed me to give back to my community in not only like a great way, but a very impactful way that is near and dear to my heart. So yeah, that's a little bit about my experience, and how Public Allies has helped me be able to help my community.
Thank you, Briana. Appreciate hearing that. And I love, hearing the impact that serving with community, learning from community has on individuals. And it's no surprise. For 20 years, like I said, CEC has had these programs going on. We've collected data, we've done some research, and we know that this works. It works not only for leadership development, it works to develop networks, social networks, work nets that work for community to be strengthened. And it's also an economic benefit. So during this time, Briana said she's been a public ally for 2 years. That means she's serving for a service term is 10 months total. And during that 10 months, the ally is paid bi-weekly. They get a living stipend. And then at the end of that 10 months, they get an educational award. And so just to say that there's, not only is there these sort of, skill development, networking development, that there is actual economic benefit for youth who don't normally have, had that opportunity in the past. And so Tabitha, I would love for you to share about Food Corps too, and your experience as a public ally, and anywhere you want to take us.
Yeah, thank you, Vanessa. First of all, thank you to everyone here and for taking time out of your day to be with us. And I think the thing that comes up for me, especially with my site at Community Engagement Center, is just relationships and the importance of connection. I don't think that I feel like with those relationships and those connections of mentorship, as a non-traditional student, I was able to come back and finish my bachelor's degree. And I think that those are the things that sometimes go missing, like that yes, it's a national program. Yes, there's so many things that are stipulated because it is AmeriCorps, but in my specific service, I was able to grow and develop, and I was kind of thrown into the water and like, hey, facilitate this, or hey, do the research on this, or be in these different spaces. And I was able to develop skills that I didn't know that I had. And I think that's really important, especially for someone who, I was born in Alamogordo, New Mexico, born and raised there. And as we know, the population of African Americans or or people who are Black is pretty low in New Mexico, and I didn't see myself really reflected in a lot of places of positions of power. And for me, thinking of filling out an invoice or having my own business or being an entrepreneur just seemed so far away. Thinking of myself as earning my doctorate, again, just seemed like a lofty goal. But as a public ally, I was able to learn project management skills, which I'm still working on. And that's the relationship part where I've had incredible mentors through the Community Engagement Center. And so as my public ally term, I actually assisted with the Service Corps program to build capacity there, building trainings and facilitations, mainly around anti-racism. That's something that we haven't really brought up, but that's kind of like the glue of all of our projects. Like if we are not trying to get to the root causes of why things are happening in our communities, it kind of is just kind of a saviorism complex, and we're not really getting to the problems and really affecting change. So with all of our anti-racism trainings, I was able to understand why the world is the way it is and why certain people are more likely to have negative outcomes as they go through certain sectors of healthcare, as they go through education, as they go through the justice system. And that really has lit a fire for me in knowing that this work is important. So I take that back, talking about the healthcare sector. I just noticed that certain people had negative health outcomes, and it's directly tied to access to food and lack of land access. And I really got passionate about that. I love to garden, I love to cook, and I tied those passions with helping our community with now the Food Corps, which has a service member at different elementary schools. Usually we try to place service members at elementary schools that usually wouldn't have access to healthy fruits and vegetables, and starting with the most marginalized, and then going out and bringing in the community. And the way that we do it, that is again centering Black and Indigenous voices. With our trainings, we bring in elders from the community. Right now, we're working on partnerships, or we already have a relationship with NACA and La Placita and some other grassroots organizations, but trying to expand that to partnerships, or not expanding. We already have connections with Albuquerque Public Schools and some of those larger districts, and seeing that they're not really different entities and that they have so many commonalities between them. So that looks like different things. And if anyone has any questions, just let me know. But I just love how I get to tie health and land access. And I feel like this is a way of reparations to be able to have Indigenous people who their land was stolen in violent ways, and to have Black people or people of African descent leading the way in how to cultivate food as well. So that's been the way that Public Allies has been that pathway for me, and allowed me to see myself as an entrepreneur and someone who could work with my community.
That's awesome. Thank you so much for sharing your story, Tabitha and Briana, and Vanessa too. Vanessa, it looks like you had something to add.
No, I was just gonna sort of wrap up, the the intro and spiel about CEC and public allies by saying that our next recruitment period for allies and partner organizations is starting this summer. And so our next cohort will start in the fall of 2021. So that's 20, people that are going to have similar experiences to what we just shared. And to say that CEC is aiming to be strategic in its partnerships, and more we're leaning into how we work similarly with APS to connect some of our anti-racist youth leadership institute curriculum to schools. So we want allies doing that kind of work with, strategically within the education sector. Similarly, Michael, we want allies focused on food justice. We have this great program, Food Corps, who's making great impact for the young ones, the children, the schools in our state. And we wonder how we can build on that model and how public allies can be something that can be a part of that. And so we're talking with folks like Farm to Table New Mexico, or folks at the public education department and such, to see how can we get cohorts of people, young people, dedicated to building capacity in these areas, in education, in food justice, in anti-racism. So not only are we, building their leadership, but we're also being strategic about the work that needs to be done that's ahead of us. And then lastly, just wanted to share just lift up the folks who have been our good partners this year. They're the CESOs, Center for Sustainable Social Systems. Briana mentioned Office of Equity, Diversity, and Inclusion out of UNM Health Sciences Center. We have the Asian Family Center of New Mexico, Lutheran Family Services, Rocky Mountain, the Santa Fe Dreamers Project hosting some allies. South Valley Academy has historically had many allies become staff members and teachers of the academy. The New Mexico Dream Team is onboarding a few allies. We have the New Mexico Immigrant Law Center in Encuentro, New Mexico. The City of Albuquerque Gang Violence Prevention Program is going to be taking on an ally. So just an example of the diverse sort of focus areas of organizations that host allies, and to say that we're here and we're happy to partner. And yeah, open for any questions. Thanks, Michael.
Definitely. And Vanessa, can you share some of the links that you mentioned about the application and where they can find more information about it in the chat, so that way anybody who's listening today can have access to that as well? Thank you. Yeah, and Briana and Tabitha, if you could also share your information in the chat in case somebody wants to follow up with you afterwards as well, if they have any further questions about it. Yeah. Let's see. And then this is for the audience. If you have any questions, feel free to type them in the chat, and we will talk to the panelists about discussing some of those. I guess this question is for Briana and Tabitha. How did you find out about this program? What actually, got you, perked your interest in the first place? You can start with Briana.
Yeah, so I initially heard about the Public Allies program through my mentor. So I've had a mentor for, 6-7 years now. Her name is Veronica Plaza. She is a doctor, and she has an MPH as well, MD MPH, and she works for UNM. So she, in talking to her one day, I mentioned that I was getting, because we have check-ins every so often. And in our check-in, I was mentioning to her that I was looking for a job at the time, and that I wanted something that was related to, health. And she was just like, oh, I heard of the perfect position. And she gave me the information. And then sure enough, I called and interviewed, and then now I'm here. Yeah, so it was all through my mentor, and I'm very thankful that she referred me.
Awesome, thank you. Yeah, it's great to have mentors, especially for that, because you don't know what you don't know, and then they're able to share that kind of stuff with you. So that's great. And Tabitha, how about you?
As I mentioned before, I was actually a non-traditional student. So I actually worked with the CEC a long time ago in an after-school program at Thomas Bell, which changed my life, and I still learn from some of the lessons there. So when I was coming back to school after taking a break, I actually was like, man, I love the Community Engagement Center. I wonder if I can still do that type of work. And then I actually reached out to the Community Engagement Center and they had openings. So I worked as a Service Corps member, then graduated onto the Public Allies position. And that's how that kind of started, just with working with the CEC.
Excellent. Thank you. See, Robert, do you have any questions?
Actually don't so far. Well, actually, no, that's not true. I was just going to ask, like, how, Vanessa, like, how do you all sign up hosts to be part of, to host a public ally?
So just contact me. There's a form on the website, Public Allies, the website that I shared in the chat. There's a little link that says become a partner. So you could do it that way. Or easier, just reach out to me or any one of our staff, to Tabitha, Briana, anybody that knows us. And it's just a matter of having a conversation. We would want to know what sort of staff support there is for mentorship and coaching a public ally. Are there goals of the organization to grow leadership for the organization? And what's the work ahead, and how can we be strategic in addressing it in collectively? So yes, I will put my email in the chat. One sec, I'm on a shared screen, so I'm like, okay, here we go.
And you mentioned earlier that some organizations, some hosts actually go, like, some public allies go on to be staffed at some of the organizations. Like, can you talk about some more of those successes? I think I know, like, sometimes the cost can be a little bit prohibitive, knowing that a lot of nonprofits do not have that kind of budget, unfortunately. But obviously, if something like Public Allies can really bolster like employment and staffing capacity and leadership capacity of an organization, like,
Yes.
how can we as the sector, like, start to support that more?
It's a good question, Robert. And I think especially as it relates to youth who haven't normally had opportunities in the past. And we know that that's youth, people of color in New Mexico, across the nation. And so looking at the nonprofit sector and how it addresses that, or how it just continues to uphold whiteness in its leadership. And so it is I appreciate you posing that question for how can we as a collective look at this issue, look at the fact that there is talent, that there is skill, there is intelligence in places that we haven't been looking. And how do we create spaces so that folks can be overrepresented and selected to be leadership? And so, yes, we have, like, one of our data points is that 98% of the public allies go on to have a staff position at the organization that they were apprenticing with, or at another organization. Or if it's not a position, it's a educational pathway, like Briana, onto medical school, on her career pathway. And so it's a good way to think about that for your organization. What's it going to look like moving forward, and how do we start to invest now, and who do we invest in now is an important question. And so, yeah, the organizations, I can name a few. So South Valley Academy, many of their teachers, the leadership high schools, their public allies have gone on to be staff. United Way of Central New Mexico recently hired on one of their public allies. La Placita Institute, Encuentro, New Mexico. So you definitely see alumni, public ally alumni, in these leadership positions. And that's happening across the nation. And across the nation, you see them in elected positions of power. So becoming, local school board members or city government council members. So just looking at that collective community power to shift things to be more fair in these times, to make a Public Allies has a saying of having a more perfect union for everyone. And so if we need a more perfect union for everyone, we have to address who it's not been perfect for first and uplift that. And so, yeah, Public Allies is a space to do that for your organization. And contact me. The website, the application in the chat. I can put it up there one more time.
Thanks, Vanessa. I appreciate that. And does anyone of our Impact and Coffee team or anyone in the audience have any questions they want to ask?
I think we could probably finish it up so that way we have a little bit of time for networking. And I know that some of the panelists have to be somewhere at 10. So we'll just go ahead and ask the last question that we always ask our Impact and Coffee members or speakers. And that's, what can this community do for you today? So what is one thing that you would like help, that you'd like to ask us for help doing? So this can be talking about Public Allies or the organizations you work for, or all of that stuff. So what can this community here at Impact and Coffee do for you today? Tabitha, let's go ahead and start with you.
Yeah, I thank you for that question. I didn't even really, I didn't think of that, and I appreciate the opportunity for the ask. I think the one thing is, if you know a young person, it doesn't have to be a young person. If you know someone who's doing great work in the community with maybe healing or food access with gardening, and they need an opportunity, they need a way to be reimbursed for what they're doing, just send them our way just so we can get them connected, because we truly believe that people who are closer to the source are the most qualified to make change. So yeah, if you know anyone, please send them our way, because we know that these opportunities usually stay in these small networks, and just want to get that word out so more people can have opportunity.
Awesome, that's great. Bye. Yeah, we'll definitely keep you in mind for all of that. Thank you. All right, and Briana, how about you? What can this community do for you?
Yeah, like Tabitha said, thank you for the question. And I would just have to say what she said. So if you all know of anyone, or maybe just spread the word about this wonderful organization, and connect people to us. If you all come across individuals that are in need of opportunities, or would be a great fit.
Perfect, thank you. All right, and last but not least, Vanessa, how can this community help you today?
So the first thing that came to mind is really just about individual work. And so I think this community, what our community can do, is to be reflective on what it's taken for us to be where we are today, to speak about that more, and especially to speak about how it wasn't just an individual journey. It wasn't just about how hard you worked, that it was about a collective journey, a community journey. It was about, and I'll speak for myself, it was about people that I didn't even know in 1998 were making these programs at the UNM and in community. That Tabitha didn't even necessarily know at Thomas Bell, but how impactful it's been for us here, 20 years later. And so my hope is that this community can be reflective on each one of our individual journeys and speak about how it took collective effort to get us to where we are.
Awesome, thank you for that. Yeah, it was great hearing from you all today. I'm going to pass it over to Robert. He looks distracted right now, but he's going to put us in breakout rooms for about 10 minutes, and then he'll bring us back in in about 10 minutes to kind of wrap up. And so take it away, Robert.
Thanks, Michael. And thanks every one of our panelists too. We're just going to do a quick little time warpy kind of thing where we put people into breakout rooms. Let me just make sure that we're doing all this correctly. And we have the timer, and we'll go from there. I know some folks are already kind of checking out, but that's okay. We'll just kind of hang around. But we can definitely, for our breakout rooms and networking, just make sure that you're not talking over each other, that you're practicing good internet etiquette, so to speak. So, but if there are any other further questions people want to ask about public allies or about the experiences of allies, I know we'll do this really quickly. So we'll give everyone about 10 minutes, and then we'll come back here into the main room and we'll close out. All right, y'all. Just want to say big, huge thank you to Vanessa and Briana and Tabitha for joining us this morning. It was really great to learn more about your experiences and about the Public Allies program. I hope folks reach out to Vanessa and ask about hosting a Public Ally. That it's a really great program, not only just for here, but across the country. Big shout out to everyone who joined us this morning. It was really great to see some familiar faces today on this last Impact and Coffee of March. So we'll be back. I believe, I can't remember the date now. I think it's April 5th or April 6th, but first week of April. Thank you, Michael, April 6th. We'll be back on April 6th with another Impact and Coffee, starting for actually kicking off National Poetry Month. So we have some really cool stuff coming up for Impact and Coffee. So come check us out. And big thanks to our panelists for joining us today. Big thanks to our Impact and Coffee team, Michael and Juan and Danny and Abby. Thank you so much for all of your hard work. And we wish everybody to have a really great rest of your Tuesday and really great rest of your week. We'll be posting this video up online soon, and just let your friends know to join us for Impact and Coffee in a couple weeks. So take care and have a really great rest of your week. Thanks. Bye.